still. Absolutely still. Never changing. Still. It is present now. At the core of everything in the universe, there is this stillness. At the core of every molecule, every atom, every leaf, every tree, every planet, every star, every sun, every person is this infinite sky of stillness. In an instant, in the twinkling of an eye, you can recognize what has always been and is still, naturally, effortlessly. I am not a guru. I don't have devotees. Don't be mistaken by this form. There is something much deeper than any form. Then you will say, I hear my own self speak. I'm only interested in that which has never been created, that which is eternally still, that which is called satsang.
Throughout history, the eternal questions persist about the true nature of happiness and fulfillment. At many times and places, there have been individuals, known and unknown, who through some divine grace have realized the truth of their own being. During the first half of this century, near a small village in the south of India, there lived such a being. His name is Sri Ramana Maharshi, and he is now recognized as one of the great spiritual masters of all time. As a boy of 16, he was overcome by a powerful premonition and fear of death. The shock of this drove his attention inwards. Inquiring of his own self, who dies? He directly experienced that the body dies, but the eternal spirit that animates it cannot be touched by death. This realization became the core of his teaching, profound in its simplicity. The method, self-enquiry. The question, who am I? He said, you do not acquire happiness and bliss. Your nature is happiness and bliss. Peace is your nature. The identification with the mind and body is the cause of all suffering. Discover this, and you are free. After his realization as a young boy, Ramana was irresistibly drawn to the holy mountain of Arunachala, and he would never again leave that sacred ground. Ramana's teaching was usually in silence. When he did speak, however, his words always pointed the seeker into the direct experience of the self. The emanations of his grace, his presence, and his silence continue to attract seekers from all over the world. Among his disciples is a realized master living now in Lucknow, India. His name is Sri Harilal Punja, known as Punjaji, or more affectionately as Papaji.
The first question, Papaji, is who are you?
I am that. From where you, me, she, he, all the rest emerge from. I am that.
Always an impassioned devotee of the divine, in 1944, Papaji's fire brought him to the feet of Ramana. Receiving the direct transmission of the silent mind of his master, Papaji awakened into the true nature of consciousness. Working only with a few people at a time, Papaji was relatively unknown until recent years. Now, actively teaching in his 80s, Papaji has attracted the attention of thousands of seekers from around the world. Sometimes fierce, but always loving like a wise grandfather, Papaji shares freely the transmission and the direct experience of freedom, here and now, radiating the grace and continuing the lineage of his master, Ramana. As the 20th century comes to a close, many people are looking in many directions, urgently attempting to discover a true path and an end to their suffering. Such was the case of Antoinette Varner, an American woman who traveled to India in 1990 to meet Sri Punjaji. On the banks of the Ganga, his beloved holy river, she met her master.
And then Mrs. Tony. Very nice.
Last night we sat by the Ganga and felt it, and I realized I had a thought of, yes, I'll give it all up. I'll give my life to Punjaji. But that was a little piece. I still thought, and then it will all be wonderful. And last night I felt it as the whole universe in the Ganga. And I was terrified.
Yeah, this is the fear of possession. No? If the possessions were sitting by the bank of the Ganga will take away the possessions. So some fear will come. But when you know Ganga is your own consciousness, and everything is contained within yourself, then there will be no fear. Everything is possessed by within you.
You know, when I met my master, I looked into his eyes and I saw the whole cosmos. And in that instant, as thankful as I was for everything that had come before, I knew I was at the feet of something greater than I had ever witnessed or seen. And I listened. And this is still my relationship with him. When I go back to see him at India, I am at his feet. I am mute. I am a child. I am nothing. And this is bliss. This is bliss.
He gave her the name Ganga and asked that she be called Gangaji, and he gave her an assignment.
I am here because my teacher said you must go door to door. So I've come to your door, happily, joyfully. That doesn't mean it will always be comfortable. It doesn't matter. I am very happy to bring you this good news, this truth of freedom, this truth of truth.
She now shares this message freely in a language easily understood by the Western mind, yet always pointing to what is beyond the limitations of the mind.
And he said to me, "Be still. Stop all of your business. Stop all of your strategies. Stop all of your techniques. Stop everything." And of course I said, but, stop. I looked in his eyes and I saw something so big, so vast, so true, that I had to stop. I had to at least see. I had somehow given up and somehow been taken to India, which I had never planned or never wanted to do, and had somehow met this enormous being, and he told me to stop. Somehow I heard. In the face of all of my doubts, in the face of all of my beliefs and my techniques and my strategies, I somehow stopped. Yes, I too forced myself to be a cheerleader. Force myself to marry the right person. Force myself actually to have a child so that child would give me some recognition. And I'm happy that I am just like you. Besides being you, I am just like you. We have many of the same life experiences. I was not born under some auspicious star. I was not born to enlightened parents. I was not born awake. I was not born an avatar. I'm just like you. So you have no excuse.
And I first met Gangaji when her name was Tony, and that was in November of 1975 in Berkeley, California. And we met at a party. I was a hippie down from the hills of Oregon, and she was sort of a hippie who was working part-time as a waitress and living with her daughter. But what was immediately apparent was her loyalty and her commitment to truth. And I'd say that it was her commitment to truth that really bonded us and carried our relationship through all the ups and downs and struggles and madness that everybody in our time went through in relationships in those times. But really it was her willingness to sacrifice everything to the truth. That was the shining purity and beauty of her character that was the most important feature, I'd say, before she met Papaji.
Was Punjaji or Ramana, was that lineage pulling on you at that time? Was that part of the guidance?
I would say truth was pulling on me. Mm-hmm. Truth was pulling. And I would have to say that in retrospect, this has been true throughout my whole life. Only there was a certain moment where I couldn't turn from it. And I don't say that in that my life is any different from any other life. That once you surrender to this pull of truth, if this pull is there, once you surrender to that, you can look back in your whole life and see it has always been calling you. Always.
What is the primary purpose of your work and your teaching now at this time in the world?
Well, the primary purpose is to bring the message that my master brought to me, which is that you are free, you are whole, you are consciousness itself. The mind is a very powerful force. But what the realization that I'm speaking of and that my master and his master are speaking of is what is before that.
Can you say what is before thought? Or is it beyond words? so it is beyond words.
This is the truth of who you are. And this is the great opportunity to realize that.
I must say that what you offer, the presence, is so simple. So simple.
Yes. I would have to say
Yes.
that what I offer is what you already have. This is what makes my work so simple.
The beauty of this teaching is that the recognition is immediate and the deepening is endless. And Gangaji is a representation of that. When people come into Gangaji's presence, their mind stops very often. Their heart opens. They recognize deeper truth. And then over time, it seems they become more deeply established in that.
Recognize you are home. Not you are at home. You are home. Not you have come home. You are home. You are that which is home.
If you can speak something to anger, I would very much appreciate that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Anger is the most surface. It's a defense. It's an offense that's defending something. So, of course, it's very tempting to express the anger with a pillow or with a person or internally in your own organs. If you are willing to actually experience the anger without expressing it, without repressing it, without denying it, without discharging it, just to experience it. Either in that there is no anger, there is freedom, there is joy, peace, or there is something deeper that's uncovered. Must be some hurt, some fear that there has been an unwillingness to experience. In that you experience without covering, without discharging, just experience the deep hurt or the deep fear or the deep despair. Experience it totally without covering it, without discharging it. And it is freed. It is freed, as you discovered with your hurt. The tendency is anger, protection. Don't stop there. Deeper than that. I'm not ever speaking of denying the emotions, and I'm not ever speaking of discharging the emotions. Both have been tried. You have tried them, both. I'm speaking of directly experiencing everything.
And the experience of this body having AIDS is a constant. It constantly brings this awareness into this moment. Pain experienced disappears. Discomfort experienced disappears. Even the greatest attachment to the body and identification to the body in the moment disappears. So there's no, even to be asked about the experience of living with AIDS is one of blessing each moment. And it's not said in a casual way.
The great secret that is discovered when you experience these so-called negative emotions, which seem limitless, endless, you discover not only are they not limitless, they are not there. What a discovery! Then, of course, bliss arises, and there is some fear to experience it because you want it to be there. You directly experience that, which doesn't mean holding on to it, doesn't mean rejecting it. And you discover the bliss that is limitless. It doesn't go away. This is your true nature. The rest is false nature, imposed nature, imitation of nature, practiced nature. So this is a penetration through what has been imposed, what has been believed, what's been practiced, to what is true. This is the good news of awakening. Such good news. Throughout time there has been the heralding of this good news. Direct experience is the key.
You know, I feel that this body, the fact that the body has AIDS, is very important. Because when I hear Gangaji mention how Ramana's gift was that to bring this awareness to the world, and that Punjaji's gift was to say that it's available to people who are working or not, to people who own homes and families, and that her gift is to say that it's just like you and me, that she's no different, she comes from the same culture. I feel that my gift is that I have AIDS, and that you don't have to be healthy, there's no requirements for this awareness. There's no requirements for realizing who it is you are. That in the midst of disease, in the midst of health, there's no difference. That you can, in this moment, recognize who you are, and that awareness is present through disease, through health, anything.
If you're still looking for excuses, you're in the wrong room. This is where excuses end. That's what satsang means, truth. Finally, in association with truth. For this association, all excuses must be left behind. Immediately. Not when you get it together someday. Not after you've dealt with your last relationship. Immediately. It is usual to be distracted by circumstances, emotions, and thoughts. It is most unusual to stop, to be still, to recognize what is already and always here. So I'm suggesting you don't accept any excuses from yourself for this avoidance of what is already here. Even if the excuse is, yes, but I'm working on myself. This is a typical New Age excuse. It's very flimsy. First discover yourself, and then see if any work is needed there. If you identify yourself as your body, your emotions, or your thoughts, you have not discovered yourself. And you can say, well, I'm working on my body, I'm working on my emotions, I'm working on my thoughts. And sooner or later you will discover this work is endless. And when you discover that, you will stop. And you will discover what is already and always here. My suggestion is you don't postpone it another moment. Make it sooner. These distractions of the mind and what needs fixing, what needs working, what needs releasing, what needs finding, what needs keeping, these are endless. You have the capacity and the potential and the opportunity to stop. Sooner or later, this will be discovered. If you make it later, there is unnecessary suffering ahead. That's just the truth. If you don't believe me, you watch carefully and see. Examine this for yourself. Sooner or later, you must stop. You must give rise to this question, who am I really? What is permanent? Really, what is permanent? What can be trusted, really? And in this you will recognize that all of these thoughts and emotions and bodies are quite impermanent. And in their impermanence, absolutely unreliable. This is a very earth-shaking realization. You have searched for reliability in thoughts, emotions, and bodies. And constantly you have come up short. Of course. No thought is permanent. No body is permanent. And no emotion is permanent. Give up this search for permanence in those realms.
I was really ready to die. I came to her that night. I was dying inside. I felt it. I felt like not going on any longer in terms of how I was living life. And that night was the beginning of a dissolution of this old name Barry that I was born with that has not stopped. The essential question that she asked me, which cut through a lot of knots and a lot of discussion, which I love about Gangaji, is what is it that I really want?
You can finally ask yourself, what do I really want? What is it I truly want? I understood that I wanted more things, and I got more things, and I understood finally, who can say how long it takes to understand, but finally at least there's a glimmer of understanding. Things don't do it. Whether I have them or whether I don't have them, they're secondary. And I understood that then what I wanted was more personal power, more proof of personal power. And I acquired some proof of personal power, and this too didn't do it. Hasn't released me from this desiring. Then this question can be asked. What is it I want? So I ask you, since this is your question, what is it you want? Really, finally. So that the last breath of this lifetime, you can honestly say, I received what it was I wanted. What would that be?
And she spent about a half an hour with me that night and just kept directing me inward. And I kept dropping deeper and deeper and deeper, and this flame, this hot, hot burning ignited inside of me. I had never read a Zen book. I didn't know anything about flames. I didn't know about anything about this burning, so it was a true birthing, a true gift. And of course, Gangaji lives for this. She lives for the burning truth that gets ignited in people. This is so clear the more I sit with her, and she was ecstatic to see this in me, and she directed me to give my whole life to that.
Since you find yourself in satsang, very luckily, and found yourself in satsang for a year, I can pass on to you the help that my teacher passed on to me. He gave me this task to pass this on to you, that the lineage goes to you. And that is to find out who you are. Immediately. To give up this absurd postponement, to give up these absurd forcings into some idea of something, to find this out now. And since you're finding out who you are, it is inherently who you have always been. And since it is who you are, it is just who you are, not who you will become, what you need to do to become that. And since you are that, you have infinite power to discover that.
The first time that I ever spoke with her directly in satsang, I revealed something or told her something that would change my life. Basically, there would be no turning back. And what I said to her was that I wanted to stop hiding from who I really was. And she looked at me, and in that instant of looking into her eyes, there was no possibility of hiding in any way anymore. And in that recognition, I saw myself. And it was an explosive moment. Our eyes met, and she looked at me like I'd never been looked at before. She looked at me so deeply and saw me so deeply to the depth of my being, to the core of my being. And she said, "It's so good to see you." And in that, there was this incredible recognition, feeling of recognition that I'd always wanted my whole life. I mean, this is what I was yearning for, was this connection. And it felt like I was being shaken on a cellular level, like my whole body was waking up.
It's very simple what I'm saying. I'm saying you are already free. Who you are has always been awake. You've just been playing a game with yourself. And since you are who you are, this game is quite intense. You can put this game aside. I'm not asking you to remember who you are. I'm asking you to put everything aside and just discover what has never really been forgotten, what could never really be forgotten, what has always been present.
I realized that the eye that had seen me and the eye that I had seen is who I am, that there is no difference, there is no separation. And in that, I recognize the truth of my being and the fabrication of the story of Eileen and the truth of Eileen, the truth of who Eileen is, was recognized in that moment.
It was interesting because I've been very judgmental in the past of people who carry on about their teachers, who cry and get carried away emotionally. And never said anything out loud, but inside lots of judgment around that. And I found within about less than 5 minutes in sitting with her that I just started crying, and I cried, and I cried, and I couldn't stop. And she was just so sweet. She sat there and she looked at me and just let me cry. And I started feeling really silly because I was crying, and all of a sudden I heard people behind me starting to cry. It started to become infectious. And tried, for whatever silly reason, to control that. It was not controllable. I fell so in love in that moment with her that there was just no control. And so we sat there for I don't know how long, just looking at each other and crying and just saying, at last, at last.
Yes, I'm in love too. I see that too. Unashamedly in love, bursting in that. Intimately in love, not needing even to know what name you go by, not needing any personal contact, not needing anything except this that is seen, this that is evoked in oneself, by oneself, through the grace of this mysterious truth.
Every year, Gangaji would return to India to visit her master. Each time, he would ask her to hold satsang. Satsang is a Sanskrit word meaning association with the truth, a speaking and transmission of the truth. Papaji requested Gangaji to offer satsang at certain sacred places. In Bodh Gaya, where the Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree and attained liberation 2,500 years ago.
You know, my master is in the tradition of a Hindu, but I've seen many people come through. I've seen Christians come, and when Christians come, he is a Christian. When Buddhists come, he is a Buddhist. When Sufis come, he is a Sufi. It's quite natural. When the code is broken, you speak through all traditions. All religions, everything arises from this that you are. This arises from this desire and glimpse and worship of freedom and truth. Most sacred. This is who you are. Wake up to that. If you find yourself a Buddhist, very good. A Christian, a Jew, a Muslim, it doesn't matter. They all melt in that which you are. Enlightenment is a concept of the mind that is in opposition to ignorance or unenlightenment. It must be discovered, it must be experienced, because you have lived your life experiencing yourself as unenlightened or ignorant. So you must experience this other polarity. This is an essential experience. And when this experience is experienced, then you are free to realize who you are, which is absolutely untouched by any concept of the mind.
In the ancient holy city of Varanasi, Gangaji held satsang on the banks of the Ganga.
God is just an idea. Self is just an idea. Enlightenment is just an idea. But they point to that which is untouched by any idea. So yes, don't cling to it as a word. Don't even know what surrender means. You discover what surrender means. You discover what release means. You discover what truth means. Don't cling to it as some idea. It's useful as a signpost. Here, it's pointing here. But the truth of surrender has never been spoken. The truth of freedom has never been voiced. So we speak these ideas, but they're very limited. Don't cling to the words. There's something else revealed. Something that has to remain unspoken. If you cling to the words, you just overlook that. Like this man said yesterday, I realize you aren't saying anything. Yes, this is right. You released this age-old attempt to grasp truth in words. And when you release that, then all words point to that.
In Sarnath, satsang was held among the ruins where the Buddha first offered public teachings.
But you know, to be here You must have heard some call. Certainly it wasn't your parents who said, "Why don't you go to India?" It wasn't your schools. It wasn't the churches. It wasn't the government. There was something deeper than that. Some kind of quest for some truth that somehow you had not received. Maybe you had received in pieces. But something deep that made you refuse the call of what had been determined to be your life. Even if the form is there, there is this truth of freedom that you could not live that life as it was laid out. I don't know, maybe you're a doctor, a lawyer, a student, doesn't matter. But you're not a doctor, a lawyer, a student as defined. You can't be and remain in satsang. Satsang is unbearable for that. Because satsang is a confirmation of that call. That regardless of the form of this life, that call that was of a different order, that proclaimed itself as true, regardless of circumstances or proof otherwise, regardless of denial, continues to proclaim itself true. That's what satsang is, a confirmation of that.
So many blessings, like flower petals raining down, where there's no beginning, no end can be found. Mahadeva, Mahadeva, Mahadeva. So many blessings, like flower petals raining down, where there's no beginning, no end can be found. Mahadeva, 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 Mahadeva. So many blessings, like flower petals raining down, where there's no beginning, no end can be found. Mahadeva, 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 Mahadeva. So many blessings, like flower petals raining down.
You are that. Stop lying. See it. Get on with it. I understand you have been lied to, and therefore then this lying continues. It has to stop with you. You can't wait for anyone else to stop it. You stop it. You can't wait for any great leader to show up and then just enfold you, and your little lies don't matter. That time is finished. You are the great leader. You are the present day Buddha, the second coming of Christ. You are that. Be it. I don't know if this earth can be saved or if humanity can be saved, but I know it is impossible until you recognize the truth of your being. Before that, you will continue to force yourself to be something that you think will give you what you want. And inherently, this gives rise to greed and hate and war and misery. Recognize who you are. You will see yourself everywhere. And in this, there is peace. Don't postpone this. It's time. Yes. Om Shanti.
What never was born.